David Foster Wallace was a novelist, short story writer, and essayist. He has been called the most important writer of the last 20 years. His nonfiction appeared in publications such as Rolling Stone, Harper's, Playboy, The Atlantic Monthly, and Gourmet. His prose is characterized by hyper-descriptiveness, wholesome big-heartedness, and a self-conscious awareness of modern American culture. Though his style could at times be verbose, it always maintained an affable and conversational flow. Wallace received an undergraduate degree in English and philosophy from Amherst College and received an MFA in creative writing from the University of Arizona. He eventually moved to Claremont, California, and began teaching at Pomona College. In 2008, after a long, exhaustive battle with depression, Wallace committed suicide.
Well, particularly if you have a remote control, see, when that happens, you go to a different channel. And if you don't like that channel, you go to a different channel. And one of the reasons I can't own a TV is I've started having this thing where I've become convinced there's something really good on another channel and that I'm missing it. And so instead of watching, I'm scanning anxiously back and forth for this thing that I think I want that I don't even know what it is.
There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, "What the hell is water?" The point of the fish story is merely that the most obvious, important realities are often the ones that are hardest to see and talk about. Stated as an English sentence, of course, this is just a banal platitude. But the fact is that in the day-to-day trenches of adult existence, banal platitudes can have a life or death importance.
The view from Mrs. Thompson's. Location, Bloomington, Illinois. Dates, 11 to 13 September 2001. Subject, obvious. Part 1. Synecdoche. In true Midwest fashion, people in Bloomington aren't unfriendly, but do tend to be reserved. A stranger will smile warmly at you, but there normally won't be any of that strangerly chit-chat in waiting areas or checkout lines. But now, thanks to the horror, there's something to talk about that overrides all inhibition, as if we were somehow all standing right there and just saw the same traffic accident. Example. Overheard in the checkout line at Burwell Oil, which is sort of the Neiman Marcus of gas station convenience store plazas, centrally located athwart both one-way main drags, and with the best tobacco prices in town, it's a municipal treasure. Between a lady in an Osco cashier smock and a man in a dungaree jacket cut off at the shoulders to make a sort of homemade vest. Quote, "With my boys, they thought it was all some movie like that Independence Day, till then they started to notice how it was the same movie on all the channels." Close quote. The lady didn't say how old her boys were.
You know, the whole thing about perfectionism, the perfectionism is very dangerous because, of course, if your fidelity to perfectionism is too high, you never do anything. Because doing anything results, it's actually kind of tragic because it means you sacrifice how gorgeous and perfect it is in your head for what it really is. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of years, I think, where I really struggled with that.
Television for me, although it's easier, is much lonelier. You know, watching flat images on a flat screen, doing interesting things, and often they're very easy to look at, is very different from knowing what it's like to be inside somebody else's skin, or knowing what it's like to be able to spend 2 hours with an author who somehow can make me feel like I know what it is. I mean, it just seems like a form of magic to me.
And is it also comfort?
I can't remember which American writer it was who I heard him speak, and he said that his job is to comfort the disturbed and to disturb the comfortable.
The American Academy of Emergency Medicine confirms it. Each year, between 1 and 2 dozen adult U.S. males are admitted to ERs after having castrated themselves. with kitchen tools, usually, sometimes wire cutters. In answer to the obvious question, surviving patients most often report that their sexual urges had become a source of intolerable conflict and anxiety. The desire for perfect release and the real-world impossibility of perfect, whenever you want it release, had together produced the tension they could no longer stand. It is to the 30-plus testosteronically afflicted males, whose cases have been documented in the past 2 years, that your correspondents wish to dedicate this article. And to those tormented souls considering autocastration in 1998, we wish to say, stop, stay your hand, hold off with those kitchen utensils and or wire cutters, because we believe we may have found an alternative. David Foster Wallace, Big Red Sun. $8.14-10.25 Dessert competitions. 8:14-13:15 Illinois State Fair Infirmary, then motel, then Springfield Memorial Medical Center emergency room for distension and possible rupture of transverse colon, false alarm, then motel, incapacitated till well after sunset, whole day a washout, incredibly embarrassing, unprofessional, indescribable, delete entire day. David Foster Wallace, getting away from already pretty much being away from it all.
It is about the real value of a real education, which has almost nothing to do with knowledge and everything to do with simple awareness. Awareness of what is so real and essential, so hidden in plain sight all around us all the time, that we have to keep reminding ourselves over and over, this is water, this is water.